Have you ever struggled with managing lists in Python? What if I told you that mastering just a handful of list methods could save you hours of coding time? Stick around because by the end of this video, you will know how to manipulate lists like a pro. In our last video, we covered Python lists and slicing techniques. If you missed it, check it out using the card above. Also, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe because today we are diving into powerful list methods that will make your coding life much easier. Let's get started. First of all, the first one that we will start with is append method. I have covered it in one of my previous videos, but in this one, let's dive it a little bit deeper into it. Basically, what it does is adding an element at the end of the list. That's what it does. Okay. This is useful when you want to keep adding items dynamically. I'll give you an example over here. I have a variable, okay, fruits. I'll create a list. List is always created with square brackets. I have apple and I have banana over here. Okay. What if I wanted to add orange in that list? So what I will do is, first of all, the syntax is the name of the variable and then the method. Fruits dot append brackets, and now what do we want to add inside it? We want to add orange in that existing list. Okay, so let's have this printed. There you go. Now you must notice one thing. Orange, by default, it got added at the end of the list. Okay. The existing list was apple and banana, and orange got added after it at the end of the list. Okay. Now, let's try creating another list with numbers in it. 1, 2, 3, and remember all the elements. Apple is an element in this list. Banana is another element in this list. And so are these numbers. They are individual elements in the list named as with the variable a. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all individual elements. And let's try appending 5 over there. So first of all, name of the variable goes a dot append. And what do we want to add inside? Number 5. Okay. You must notice over here, I put everything in code because that was a string. Over here, those are integers, so they need not be added in quotes. Okay. Print a. There you go. Number 5 was appended, but at the very end over here. Now, let's try another thing. Let's say I have a list, okay? 1 and 2, those are the only two elements in there. And then I have another list, which is 3, comma 4. Now, I want to append the list B with A. I want to add whatever elements I have in the list B in the list A. What happens if I use the append method over there? First of all, where do I want to add A? All right, the name of the method, brackets, and what do I want to add in it? B. Now, if I print A over here, look at that. So what it did, this was an individual list, okay, with 2 elements inside it. But when we used the append method to add the list B inside the list A, it added it all right, but as a nested list inside it. Okay, so if I calculate the length of the list A, it will come back as 3. So 1 is a single element, 2 is a single element, and then this list that we appended, the list B, is going to be counted as one single element. It's a nested list. Okay? Now, let's move on to another method over here, which is clear. As the name suggests, what do you think? What it does is it removes all the elements, oh wait, inside a list. Okay, that's what it does. Basically leaving it empty. Okay, let's try an example over here. But before I do that, let me add cells. Okay, there we go. All right, let's say I have that variable again, fruits, okay, a list which has apple, all right, bananas, okay, and let's add oranges as well. Now, I will use this method, name of the variable uh, for for the list where we want to work, fruits in this case, right? Name of the method, which is clear. All right. Now, if I have this printed empty, you can see over here, it's an empty list. It cleared every single element from that list. Now, let's try another one. Let's say I have another list with numbers. Okay, and I use the same method, clear, and then I try to print it. Empty again. We created a list, then we used the method clear in order to empty it, and there it is, an empty list. Okay, now what if I had nested list? Huh? What will happen then? Let's say I have a nested list over here, basically two lists inside it, and I used the clear method. Will it work? What do you think? It works even with nested lists. All the elements, even when inside the nested lists, have been removed. That's how clear method works. Okay, now let's move on to the next one, which is copy. The name suggests what exactly it does. It's basically creating a copy of a list. All right. Let's take an example. Let's say I have an original list over here. 1, 2, 3. I have 3 elements inside it. And then I created another list. Okay. And all right, what am I copying over here? I'm copying this list over here. So the variable is original dot copy brackets. Okay. Now, if I have the copied list printed, there you go. It's an exact copy of the original. Okay. It contains the same element, but it is a new list. That's about it. All right. Let's try another example over here. I have original again, a list, 1, 2, 3 elements. Copied is our new list, which I'm going to create of the original. That's how we do it. Okay. Now let's say that I want to add another element in the copy of original list that we had earlier. I want to add, like, append, let's say number 4 there. Okay, now let's see what happens if I have original list and the copied list both printed out. Original, okay, and then I will do copied. There you go. So when I made any changes in the copied version of the list, it did not really make any change in the original one. Okay, so this is a perfect thing when you're working on a data set and you create a copy. When you have to make some changes, you have to manipulate things. It'll be perfect, to keep the original list as it is and work and do all the calculations you want. You make changes all you want in the copied version. All right, so we've tried copying a list with numbers, but what happens if you're working on a list with strings? For example, I have a string named as word. Let's say I have Python in it. Okay, I'm gonna put my name in it. All right, and let's say, blah, blah. I can't think of any other thing at the moment. All right, and let's say uh, I create a copy of this. Copied underscore word is the new variable, and I'm creating a copy of the original list with all those strings. So it will go about as word, the name of the variable I want to copy, word, uh, the method, copy with brackets, and let's say if I have it printed, there you go. All elements are copied exactly as they were into a new list. So it works with strings as well. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is count. We did something similar with strings as well. Like, when we wanted to count certain um, not integers, but certain letters in a string available to us. We're going to be doing something very similar. Let's see how it goes. Let me counting elements in a list. Okay. Uh, over here we have 3 elements. So if you want to count how many times Python is in that list, it will give us an answer as 1. The output will be 1. There's only one Python in this entire list. Okay. Right. Let's create a list over here. 1, 2, 2, 3, 5, 6, 4, 6, 6. Okay, that's my list. Now let's try printing how many 2's are there in that particular list. So name of the variable, which is a, okay, and count, brackets. Now inside the brackets we're going to type in what we want to count, which is number 2. Okay, could be confusing. Let's say we want to count how many times the number 6 is in that list. 2. As you can see, it's 2 times in that particular list. All right, now let's say I have another variable, another list available: apple, banana, apple, oranges, orange. Okay, that's my list which is available, and now I want to count how many times apple is there in that particular list. So how will I do that? Again, the variable that you want to work on, b in this case, the method count with brackets, and inside the brackets we will mention what we want to count. Now it is a string, so of course it is in quotes 2 times. We can see already apple is mentioned there 2 times, so that's what our output is. Now let's say we have Boolean values. Okay, we have Boolean values in a list. We have true, we have false, we have false again. Okay, we have true, and then we have true again. This is just an example. I want to count that. We have the name of the variable dot count, and what do we want to count? We want to count how many times there is true in there. 3. You can see 1, 2, and 3 right there. Okay. All right. The next one happens to be extend method. All right. Now, what does it do? It adds multiple elements to a list. All right, now some of you will have confusion about this, considering that append apparently does the same thing, but I will get to it, how extend method and append method are different. All right. Now, extend method adds multiple elements to the end of the list. Append does the same thing. But unlike append, which adds elements as a single item if there are more than one, extend adds each element separately. Okay, if that is not clear, let's try with the same example as we did with append. We had apple, okay, and then we had banana over there, and we tried adding fruits dot append. We tried adding orange to it, right? That's what we did. Okay, let's say we have the same thing, and we will try using the extend method for it. Fruits dot extend. What do we want to add? Orange. Okay, do you see that? It added everything as an individual element. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to put it at, as a list. And then as a list I've put it, so it added orange as a single element. All right. Let me give you another example over here. Like this is what we have. Okay, but we have more than one element that we want to append. Okay, uh, it, with oranges, we also have pineapples. So in a list format, it's basically another list that we're trying to append to the existing list, which is fruits. Let's try to get it printed. Look at that. What append did was the append method, it added the new list as a single element in the existing list. Okay, this is a nested list over here. But what if I were to use extend method over here? All right, and then I have it printed. Do you see the difference? There was no nested list. This is a different list that we appended over here. Okay, and it appended it as it is, as a nested list, one single element. Over here, it's a list again. All right, but it added the elements individually in our existing list. Okay, now let's see. All right, now let's move on to our next method, which is index. All right, we know how indexing works. Even in lists, I covered that in my previous video. If you haven't seen that yet, need not worry. It's right there on the screen, and I would also mention it in the description. Index method, however, works with finding the position of an element in a list. Okay? Example, I have fruits. You know what? I'm gonna just copy and paste over here. I have fruits over here. Okay? There you go. Now I want to figure out what's the index position of banana. So I'm going to have it printed. As usual, it's a method. So the variable where we want to work goes first, followed by the method, which is index in this scenario. And what do we want to index? Which element do we want to index? That is banana. And we got the index value of it. Okay, let's try the same thing. Okay, but instead of banana, let's say I want to find out the value of apple. 0. So the index value of apple happens to be 0. That's what we got. Okay, let me add more cells here. Let's say I have a list of numbers. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. All right, and I want to figure out what's the index value of 30. So print function, name of the variable followed by the method that I want to use, which is index, and which index value for which element do I want to find out the index for. It is 30, so I'm going to write 30 over there, and it gave me the index value. Remember, index starts from 0 and then 1 and then 2. So the index value of 30 is 2. Now what happens if if I am trying to figure out an index value of an element which does not exist in that list? For example, I have red, I have black. Oh, come on. Really? Okay. I have blue, I have green, okay? But I want to find out the index value of yellow. All right, how will I do that? Print, which variable I want to work on? Colors, okay? And then index, brackets. I want to find out yellow. We're going to end up with an error. Yep, it's a value error. It's not in the list. So so Python is not able to figure out the index considering it does not exist in that list. Okay, now let's move on to our next method, which is insert. Do not confuse yourself with extend and append in this. Insert is something else altogether. It is also adding an element to a specific position in a list. All right, with if you can see over here, in extend, it adds at the end as an individual element, yes. In append, it adds at the end, all right. But in insert, it works in a different way. You are allowed to provide with an index value for where you want to add an element. Okay, a specific index value you can enter in that method, and then mention the value or the element that you want to enter in that particular index. Example, fruits. Again, do I have that? Oh, okay, good. Oh, there we go. All right, what if I wanted to add grapes? What if I wanted to insert grapes in that list? somewhere in between this. What if I wanted to add grapes right before bananas? Basically, index value should be 1 for grapes. How would I do that? The variable we're working on, okay, followed by um, the method that we want to work on, insert brackets, and first of all, first thing that you want to enter over there is the index. The index is 1. Apple's index is 0. Banana's index is 1. And I want to add grapes in this list at the index value of 1. So basically replace banana's index. 1 is our index, followed by, what do I want to add? I want to add grapes. Okay. What did I do? Oh, not a full stop, a comma. There you go. See, it pushed banana back, and now the index value of grapes is 1. Okay, it works the same way with numbers. All right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. What if I wanted to add 5 into it? 0, 1, 2, 3. At the index of 4. Basically, the current index of 6 is number 4, but I want to add 5 there instead. So insert the index value, and what do I want to add? 5 there. And let's have A printed. Oh, sorry, index value was supposed to be 4. There you go. It pushed 6 back and added itself to the 4 index value. All right, now time for our next method, which is pop. It's quite funny actually. I actually prefer this. It's basically removing and returning an element from a list. That's what it does. I have fruits over here. All right, let's see what happens when we use the pop method. The variable where I'm working, I want to remove pineapples. Okay, so the variable I'm working on, fruits dot pop brackets, and if I have fruits, there you go, it removed pineapple. See, I did not mention anything inside those brackets over there. All right, so by default pop removes the last element from a list. Okay, what if I had another list over here? Oh, I forgot to put brackets. There we go. Oh, all right, now if I want to pop, let's say I want to pop 30. Okay, so what will I do? I will mention the index value of 30, which is 2, and there you go, it removed 30 from there altogether. All right, see, if you by default you want to remove the last element of the list, you need not mention anything, you need not mention any argument inside the bracket. But if there is a specific element from a list which you want to remove, then you need to enter its index value inside those brackets to remove. Okay, now let's say I have a list which is empty, and I still try the pop function. What will happen? B dot pop, there, error, because it's an empty list. Index error basically, because it's an empty list. Okay, now let's move on to the next one, which is remove. Now you will think pop and remove seems to be doing the same thing, but need not worry, I will explain the difference very well. It basically deletes an element from a list. Okay, let's say I have fruits again. Ah, come on. All right, the variable we're working on, fruits, remove, is the method we're using. Now, what do I want to remove? I want to remove pineapples. Okay, and let's have this printed again. There you go, it removed it. See, in pop, if you want to remove the last element of a list, you need not enter anything as an argument in the bracket. If you want to remove an element from between the lists, you need to enter the index. Okay, but in remove, when you want to remove an element, you need to mention the exact value of it inside, not the index value, but the element itself. It could be a string, it could be an integer, float, boolean, whatever it may be. You need to mention it inside the brackets for remove method. For example, if I wanted to, let's say, I wanted to remove banana instead. Okay, so what will I do? Instead of pineapples, I'm going to enter banana. And there you go. Banana was removed and we are left with apple, oranges, and pineapples. Okay. Does it work with integers? Let's try. A is equal to a list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say I want to remove number 4 from there. Remove brackets, I enter 4. That's what I want to remove. And let's have it printed. There you go. We're left with 1, 2, 3, and 5. Number 4, the integer was removed because we used the remove method over there. What if I had another 4? Let's say I had another 4 after 5 over here. How will it work? There you go. A remove method, it will only remove the element that you have mentioned in the brackets at the first occurrence. As 4 is also there later in the list, it did not go there. It only removed the first occurrence of the element we want to remove. Same as pop, if you were trying to remove an element from a list which is not there, it will give you again an index error, considering that the element is not there. It will give you a value error that particular value, that particular element is not there anymore. Let's try the next method, which is reverse brackets. As the name suggests, it basically reverses a list. Whatever you might have in a list, it will end up reversing it. Let's say I have a list over here. This is my list. Okay. What I will do is a dot reverse bracket print a. There you go. It has reversed all the elements from the list. What if I had a string? Python is great. What if I reverse that? Great is Python. You can see the difference. It is completely reversed over there. All right, now let's move on to our last method that we will be covering in this video. It is sort. Okay, as the name suggests, it sorts a list. It could be numbers, it could be a string. If it's a string based list, then it will sort everything alphabetically. If it's numbers, it will go from ascending to descending, basically ascending order. I have a list over here. That's my list. Okay. Now, what if I do a dot sort, and have a printed? There you go. This was our original list, and now we have a sorted value over here. Okay, it works the same way, kind of, with strings, fruits dot sort, print fruits. There you go. Oh, it was the same thing. Okay, let me do this. Original list. Let's change. Okay, there you go. Original list had orange at the end, but sorted version has orange before pineapples. Now it's sorted alphabetically. Okay, now there's another function which is kind of similar. It's basically sorted. See, sort method is applicable permanently in the list that you're working on. Sorted is not so. We have this list here, and if I was to print using sorted function, it goes like this: sorted function. Okay, and what am I trying to sort? I'm trying to sort our list, which is fruits. Okay, and then I will also print the original fruits list. You can see when we use the sorted function or sorted method, it prints, because we use the print function, it printed it in an alphabetically sorted way. But when we print the variable for our list, the original stays the same. Over here, it was permanent. We used the sort method and then we printed the original variable. It printed in a sorted fashion. Basically, sorted function or sorted method returns a new list, leaving the original unchanged. So if you wanted to store the sorted if you are using the sorted function and you want to save it, you have to create a new variable and assign the value to it. That's what you need to do. Now, in my last video for list indexing slicing, I gave you all 4 questions to work on. One of which, let's start with the answers for that. Create a list of 10 numbers and print the first using slicing. How will we do that? I have a list over here. Let's say how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Okay, now I want the first 5, so we will be slicing. This is what we should have as our output. So how will we do that? A brackets. Now we're starting with 0. We want the first 5 elements. So the index value ending will be 5. There you go. Okay. Now, next one. List of strings and check if Python is in the list. Okay. Let's create a list. Java. Himanshi. Okay. Python. How will we check that? Membership, we have already covered. Print. We want to find out if Python is in A. True. Well, Python is in it. Now let's create another list, nested list basically. Means more brackets inside. All right. So what happens if I try to figure out the length of this particular list? How many elements will it count? I'm telling you, it will count 2. Usually in a list, this will be considered as one element, this will be considered as another, this will be considered as another, and this will be considered another. So basically 4 elements over there. Over here, you would think that we have 6 elements, but we don't. There are 2 nested lists, and one nested list is considered as one single element. So the length of this list is 2. Now this is something that I haven't covered yet, but I will in my upcoming videos. It's going to take some time after I cover sets, tuples, dictionaries, if else statements. After that is when I will cover this, but just giving you an idea. So I'll create a list over here. I'll create it with different data types. Okay. Integer, string. Let's create a float, 10.5, and a boolean, true. Okay. Now I want to print all of them, so I will consider for I in A, print I. There we go. We have all of them printed individually. Now you will be confused. What is this? What did I do? Need not worry. In one of my upcoming videos, you will see this, and I will cover this thoroughly, not just in one single video. I will cover every single topic about this in details, in depth. So you need not worry about anything. Okay? Now, if you have confusions, if you have doubts, please comment. I will try and cover them to the best of my knowledge. You need not worry about anything. Now, I will provide you with more questions for you to practice on your own. If you don't understand the question, again, do not worry. At least try at your end. The first question, use append function to add an item to an existing list. Okay. Oh, I typed it all inside the brackets. Exist a list and print updated list. That's your first question. Okay. Second question, create a list and use, let's say, clear function, okay, to remove all its elements and print it. Basically, use the clear method, remove everything, and print whatever is left over there. We've already done this. You should not have issues with that. Third question, copy a list using copy method, of course. Modify the copied list, okay, and print both lists. Okay, we've already done this. Try it at your end. Another question, count the number of times a specific element appears in the list using count method. Okay, these are very simple questions. We've already covered them up here. Okay, so in my next video, I will be diving into set methods. They're not many, but they're very essential. Don't miss it. All right. So if you found this video helpful, you have doubts, whatever the scenario may be, hit the like button and subscribe for more Python tutorials and leave a comment. Bye bye.